adjust your tongue box because the Disenfranchised podcast is on the air. That's right. We're that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy. Joining me, as always, the man who is hungry like the wolf. It is my co-host, Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hello, Steven.
How's it going, buddy?
No, I asked you first.
Well, we kind of asked each other at the same time.
Well,
But
then we should say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that was great. That worked out very well.
Job. Yeah, good job, everybody.
High five.
Let's pack it in.
Right on. We can all go home. Well, that's our episode, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Didn't even say what movie we're covering, but yeah. Brett, unfortunately, is lost in a labyrinth that can hold no evil. So we hope for his speedy return one of these days. But until such a time as that happens, Tucker, you and I are here to talk about a very special movie.
It is.
It is. What movie are we talking about today?
We are talking about Barbarella.
1968's Barbarella, directed by Roger Vadim and starring Jane Fonda, John Philip Law, Anita Pallenberg, Milo O'Shea, Marcel Marceau, Claude Dauphin, David Hemmings, Ugo Tognazzi. Like, just what a cast. Tucker, what a picture.
Yeah, dude. Agreed.
This thing is fucking wild. This movie is like if Flash Gordon was a sexploitation movie, it would be this.
I agree.
And I kind of dig that.
Well, I kind of have a history with it. I don't want to really reveal how I feel about the film until I kind of go through my history with this movie. But yeah, it's something. It's something very unique.
And see, I don't have any history with this movie, so this was a first time experience for me.
Nice.
I do want to say we are covering this a movie based on a comic book about a woman in space, because in theaters this weekend is a movie based on a comic book about a woman in space, The Marvels, out this weekend, and so because of that,
I want to see that.
Yeah, because of that, we are talking Barbarella. Yeah,
I might go to the movie theater to see The Marvels. Okay. I mean, I haven't been to see a Marvel movie at the theater since Endgame, just because like I care enough about them to watch them, just not enough to like go watch them at the theater. But the Marvels I'm way into because I did want to see Multiverse of Madness. I would have had I been able to, but other than that, that the Spider-Mans, the most recent Spider-Mans, I would have.
Sure.
But the majority of the stuff they put out, like I want to see it, but I don't really care to see it at the theater. But the Marvels, like I really like that cast, and I really like all of those characters. I really like the Miss Marvel series, and
that one was good. That one was very good.
I really just like homegirl who's for some reason her name is escaping me. The gal who plays Captain Marvel,
Brie Larson.
Thank you. I had Brie. I was trying to say Allison Brie, but that's the gal from Community.
Correct. Who's married to Dave Franco.
Yeah, but Brie Larson, I like her entire vibe.
I do too. I dig her. Yeah, she's cool.
And I think she's really cool as Captain Marvel because like her vibe isn't really like a superhero vibe at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really works for the character. And I really liked Captain Marvel. And like I said, I like Miss Marvel. I like the things that went on with Rambeau's daughter there in WandaVision.
Yeah.
So
they're bringing Teyonah Parris back for this one too. So that's rad.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited to see how it goes. I am sick of seeing that trailer though, because just like every trailer that I hate that has come out in the last 5 years, it's a popular song from the 90s or early 2000s, but like with
in a minor key,
powerful like symphonic score behind it. And this time it's fucking Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys, and it's the most laughably stupid use of a pop song with an orchestra behind it. It's so fucking stupid.
Didn't that one get used in Guardians 3? Like, didn't they use Intergalactic in Guardians 3?
Maybe. Mabley.
I think I might. I kind of want to. I kind of want to look now just to
I
make
cannot
sure.
wait until that trend passes, because I'm sure the first couple times I was like, that's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
But boy, do I fucking hate it now. Every time a blockbuster trailer comes on, I'm like, what fucking 90s song are we going to rip out of the grave and like completely sodomize in front of all these people? You know?
Yeah. I mean, it is absolutely that is absolutely what it's become. And like, again, the first couple times it worked, but now it's all they do. So
yup. When it's every square on your bingo card,
yeah,
time to stop.
It feels like it's the only way they know how to do it, and that's unfortunate.
It truly is. Well, it's a numbers game, Steven, and you know, that's what's in now.
Oh, I know. I wish it weren't, but it is. Yeah.
This is kind of spicy. I didn't expect it to have a little bit of spice to it.
What's that? That beer that you were talking about?
Yeah. Oh, it does. Okay. Orange peel and holiday spices. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with that, but like I'd taken small sips of it and it was very citrusy, but then I kind of took a big gulp of it and I felt like the cinnamon kind of spicy sort of Christmas beer sort of thing.
I've got a whiskey that has some of those kind of spicy notes to it. It's the Indian whiskey that my partner got me for my birthday.
Which I don't hate, but I'm very particular about how it's used. I don't like a lot of it.
Sure.
Like that's why I bought the holiday white ale instead of the seasonal, like the regular ass middle of the road Sam Adams winter beer, because that's just like beer Christmas, like potpourri. Like it tastes like potpourri smells.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, it's not for me either.
Would rather not.
Yeah. But anyway.
But yeah, Barbarella. So yeah, what is your history with Barbarella, Tucker?
Well, Stephen, as when I was a young warthog, or as others might say, when I wore a younger man's clothes, I was probably about 16 or 17 when I saw this movie. And this was kind of when I was first getting into movies. I was becoming a film fan. It was becoming a big hobby and interest for me. And I saw this. It was another one that I saw on one of the free weekends that you'd get for like HBO, Showtime and stuff. If you had cable, sometimes they'd give you a preview weekend where you could access the HBO channels and stuff.
HBO, and this was Showtime, Cinemax, all the time. Yeah, Disney Channel.
This was on one night, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And I put it on, and I'm like, "Sweet, Jane Fonda, yeah, I'm way into that." And then, like, she starts kicking all her gear off, and I'm like, "Sweet, Jane Fonda, I'm way into this."
Yeah, way into this. Okay, can I interrupt you to ask you a question? Because I legitimately want to know the answer to this.
Go ahead, yeah.
Is Jane Fonda the most beautiful woman to ever exist?
She's
because
up there.
I
she's
think
one of them.
A case can be made, honestly.
And it's not just that she's pretty or that her body is aesthetically pleasing.
Although to be clear, it is.
All of these things are true. I'm just saying what really seals the deal is, for me, her voice. I really love her voice. She has a very unique. Nobody talks like she does. It's kind of like, she doesn't sound like Christopher Walken, but it's kind of a Christopher Walken thing where like you don't know what that accent is and nobody else sounds like that.
Right.
And I love her voice and I love the way that she talks. And yeah, like I've had a big crush on her since I was a kid. With like one of my mom's favorite movies is 9 to 5, which is ironic because she's a conservative, but
yeah, interesting. Yeah. See, my parents on principle didn't like Jane Fonda because of the whole Vietnam thing.
Yeah.
Like my dad was in the military around Vietnam and just could not sanction Jane Fonda. And so I never watched anything Jane Fonda until I got older. And there's still a lot of Jane Fonda I have to catch up on. But yeah, I was watching this and I legitimately had the thought, like, is she the most beautiful woman to ever exist? Because I think we could make a case for that. I really do.
And she's such a delight. Like even now, like I don't watch a lot of stuff that she's in. I watched some Grace and Frankie, and that was really, really good.
That seems like such a fun show.
Her and fucking
Lily Tomlin.
Yes, her and Lily Tomlin are great together. Like I say, 9 to 5. Like they've done some other things together too. Like
I'm pretty sure the two of them
dude.
presented with Dolly at like either the Oscars or the Golden Globes a couple of years ago, and it was fucking great. It was fucking great.
I love all three of them, but it kind of feels like oh fuck.
You're having a really hard time tonight.
I am. I'm sorry. So it's Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are like the core of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And Dolly's just kind of like the one that comes over. She's still as much part of the group, but she like they live together, but she like lives a couple houses down. You know what I mean? Sure. That's the dynamic of that friendship, I feel like. Yeah. And like I say, like she's still such a delight. I've seen so many interviews with her on late night and stuff, and YouTube videos, people interviewing her, and she's just fan-fucking-tastic. 80 years old.
She's lived a whole ass life too. Like she's lived a whole ass life. Yeah.
She can still get it too. I'm just saying.
She's not unattractive. Yeah. Still in her 80s. Like, yeah, she could get it. She doesn't want it, to be fair, but she could. No. She could get it.
No, she does in this movie.
Yes.
When Eddie Murphy sang those notorious words, "My girl likes to party all the time."
He could have been singing about Barbarella.
He was talking about Barbarella, yeah.
So this is a formative movie for Baby Tukey.
So I saw this film, and this was one of my first known experiences with Dino de Laurentiis in the 60s. My second and favorite Dino de Laurentiis experience that I've had from the 60s is a little movie called Danger Diabolique.
Future episode of this podcast, Danger Diabolique.
Oh, I can't fucking wait. I love that movie. And fun fact, some of the same sets from Danger Diabolique were used in this film, along with
one of the major actors.
Cast.
Yeah. Like the guy who plays the angel, Pygar, is the title character, Diabolique. So yeah,
he is, and you wouldn't recognize him in Danger Diabolique.
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
he's just got the black as midnight hair, and he's like this like sexy spy dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which are the best dudes? Are the sexy spy
underground.
Dudes.
He lives in this underground lair with a spinning bed that's like money all over it and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and he drives a really cool car, and he wears like a mask that I'm pretty sure he almost died a few times wearing because there's no way he could breathe in it. Like,
probably, yeah.
The way they made those movies back then, yeah, probably.
Yeah, man. They didn't give two shits about nothing.
Nope. Get it done. Figure it out. Get it done.
Yep. Man, actor safety. What the fuck is that? Who cares? Not Hollywood producers.
I really liked this film when I first saw it because I'd never seen anything like it before. Ever. And I haven't seen it since until I watched it a couple hours ago.
Right.
And there are 3 things I remembered from this film when I originally watched it. I remember the opening scene.
Kind of hard to forget that. Let me just say, I had never seen this movie before, but I had watched the opening scene once or twice.
My best friend when I lived in Washington was the 10-year-old girl that lived next door to me.
Okay.
I was home all the time. She was home all the time. We were best friends. I don't know what to tell you.
Sure.
But she really liked Ariana Grande, and like
that tracks.
We were watching some of her music videos one day, and I was like, she's doing a Barbarella. She's doing the thing, because she has a whole music video where she's basically doing the opening credits scene from Barbarella.
Except I'm sure with more clothes.
Yes, much more clothes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For many reasons.
So I remembered that.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered that there was a shirtless angel guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Just
remembered
fucking chiseled specimen of a man.
I remembered the proper and refined way to make love, Stephen, which is to take a pill and close your eyes and put your
Hold out
hands
your
together.
hands. Yep.
I have referenced that so many times in the last 20 years.
Can
So many
can
times.
I tell you how glad I am that we actually see what that looks like and how that works?
Mm-hmm. Homeboy's hair afterwards. Boy, she
Yeah,
took him on a ride, dude.
they get a blowout. They
Yeah,
basically
dude.
they stand there, they stare at each other, and they get a blowout.
Um,
That's how that works.
a secret blowout.
Mm.
Because everything that happens in that scene and having to do with that dude is secret. He has a secret radio. His key is secret. If you watch that scene and pay attention, that's the only adjective he uses. Like everything is secret.
That tracks. Yeah, that is fucking wild, man. That oh god, this movie is so fucking wild. The production value on this thing is
It's
for
fun.
for a late 60s movie, for a late 60s B movie, there's nothing like this, man. It is so
Mm-mm.
good.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
good.
So I hadn't seen it, like I say, for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I still really like it. And I really appreciate it, but I found myself very bored this time around.
The pacing is grueling. I'll
I
just say,
mean,
yeah.
like Jane Fonda is a delight to watch in this movie, but
Correct.
there's sometimes where she's not really doing much for a long time, and you're just like, boy, I I think I need to look at my phone for see what's going on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No, you're absolutely right. Like the pacing in this movie is absolutely excruciating. Like it's so slow, and you're just kind of
Yeah.
like they could have trimmed a good 10 minutes off this movie just by like tightening some of those sequences. But I mean, also this is the 60s, and again, the production design is really cool. Even in those scenes where they've got the blue screen back there and it looks like they're just showing like deleted footage from an Antonioni movie or something,
Yeah.
like with all the like blobs and bubbles and shit.
I think that
Like,
looks great with her like fading in and out of it. I think
mm-hmm,
that's in camera, and like she's
yeah,
obviously like coming in and out of a curtain or whatever, but it's seamless. It looks great.
no, that's just it. It looks fucking cool. And
Mm.
like this movie, to hear Roger Vadim talk about it, like he wanted this to be visual spectacle above anything else. So he was not really concerned with any political messaging, which is apparent in the film,
Mhm.
and I think it's something that kind of rubbed Fonda the wrong way.
Which
Um,
I don't really understand, but she's a smart lady, so I
I
don't
don't.
get it, but like that's valid. Whatever,
She
you
did
know.
not enjoy making this movie for a number of reasons, which we can get into later. Or we can get into now. I don't really care, but like she did not like making this movie. But and that was I think maybe more of a retrospect thing. I think as she was making it, like because the character is played as an innocent, like as someone who was just born without like the stigma of sex or anything like that, so there's not like that, and in that way the film is kind of a satire, but the satirical element is minimal at best.
Yeah,
That's not what
that's the
this
thing.
movie is.
It's a harmless little movie. Like it's
Yeah,
not something to be like having political or social discussions about. It's a silly
no,
little fucking movie. Like
it's
that doesn't
camp.
matter.
This
Yeah, it
is
doesn't
like
matter.
the textbook definition of camp. Absolutely.
Yeah. Steven, are you oh, you're not. I thought you were drinking a V8 energy there.
No, I'm drinking a Topo Chico strawberry hibiscus,
Oh, that's fun.
a hard seltzer, as it were.
Oh, hard as
Which this
fuck,
is
dude.
this is what I'm been replacing beer with is
Yeah,
the
you
hard
gotta, man.
seltzers.
There's no 0 calories, dude.
Yeah, like 100 calories per can, but like no fat, low sodium, barely any sugar, like, and it tastes good.
That's not bad.
So yeah,
That's not bad. But anyway, yeah, that's a trifle of a movie. It's nothing to get upset over. But like I
it
say, Jane Fonda, like, do your thing, girl. Like you were there. I wasn't there, so
right.
whatever.
And I mean, this is an interesting. Let's get into the Fonda of it for a second if we can,
Mhm.
because this is kind of an interesting time in her career. So she's still
Indeed.
fairly new on the scene. Like I think she starts making movies in the 50s. No,
Yeah,
her first movie is 1960.
yeah. I mean, she was a big deal by this point though, because
She has. Yeah.
she had done what was that damn movie? Um, shit, what movie am I thinking of?
Cat Ballou,
No,
Walk on
I
the Wild Side,
mean,
In the Cool of the Day, Sunday in New York, Circle of Love.
no. See, I was thinking They Shoot Horses, Don't They? But it was after
That's a couple years
Barbarella.
after. Yeah.
Well, it's 1 year after, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's what
no,
I
it's her
thought
next movie,
that
right?
was. I thought it was before that,
No,
but
but
yeah, but I
see,
mean, she had some. She was a name. People knew who she was when she did
this
this
is
movie.
this is the sex kitten stage of her career. She makes 3 movies with her husband at the time, Roger Vadim.
Hmm.
The first one they make shortly after they get married with Vadim's ex-wife Brigitte Bardot, um,
Who this
called Cirque.
character was based on, by the way.
Right. In
Who
fact,
is also an amazing. If you like '60s French pop, like check out Brigitte Bardot. She's got
oh
some great songs.
fuck yeah, Bridget. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude.
and her movies are also phenomenal.
She does a cover of Suzanne
Mm,
by Leonard Cohen. That is, it's all in French, but it's amazing. It's great. Yeah,
right on.
but sorry, go ahead.
No, but she does. So the first film they do together is Circle of Love, and that is Vadim's film. The promotional material for that included a 8-story billboard of Fonda naked to promote the
Oh, nice.
movie. So there was that. The second film they do together is The Game Is Over, which nude photos from the closed set managed to leak to the tabloids. So that was like, so Fonda is like 2 for 2 on sex scandals in her husband's movies. This is the
Hmm.
third one and final one that they make together. And I think after this, her career kind of pivots away from the sex kitten stuff into the more political arena that she would occupy in the 70s. The next year is They Who Shoot Horses, Don't They? 2 years later, she wins her first Oscar for Clute. Steelyard Blues and A Doll's House in 73. Like A Doll's House is just like a phenomenal Ibsen film. She gets married to politician Tom Hayden during that time. Like her and Vadim, I think, divorced in 64, 65, maybe.
Hmm.
Or no, it would be like maybe 72, maybe. Because they were still married when they made this movie, obviously. Um,
Yup.
but like so she becomes a lot more politically active. Um, and like looking at the relationship section of her IMDb page is just like a veritable who's who of like 60s and 70s personas. I think she even told Andy Cohen that the one regret that she had, the one person she regretted not being in a relationship with, was Marvin Gaye. She was like, he asked, I wanted to, but I was married, and so I said no, which I respect.
Yeah.
But I don't know if, I mean, I'm a heterosexual man, and I don't know if I would have been able to say no to Marvin Gaye. So, like,
Well,
she's
he's constantly uh prompting us to get it on.
exactly.
Constantly.
Um, I mean, look, he can feel it rising.
Yeah, dude.
Um, Trying to hold back that feeling. You can only hold back that feeling for so long.
Amazing.
And apparently Jane Fonda said that when she found out that when he died, he had a picture of her on his refrigerator.
Oh, I mean, everybody should have a picture of Jane Fonda on the refrigerator, though.
I should actually. You're right. I need to get on that. I need to fix
Get
that.
right on that.
Right. But no, but no, Fonda, fucking treasure, and she's on a really fertile creative run. Like she's won 2 Oscars, one of only a handful of performers who've won 2 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And she won them for Clute, as I mentioned, and her other Oscar. She was nominated for They Who Shoot Horses, Don't They? The other one she won was for Coming Home, Best Actress in a Leading Role for Coming Home.
Oh, that came out the same year as California Suite.
Yes.
which is a play I was in.
Okay.
I played Bill Cosby's character, which I was very honored to do at the time.
At the time. No longer.
It was fun, though. I got to do a lot of physical comedy, lots of pratfalls on stage. It was a lot of fun.
That's always nice. That's always a lot of fun when you get to do
Yeah, and
that.
the guy who played Richard Pryor's character he was really he was a very physical dude. So like he was able to like I don't know, give me the kind of momentum I needed when we were like fake fighting
Mm-hmm.
to really sell the pratfalls.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I liked
I
being in that play.
For some reason, when you said California Suite, I thought of California Split, the Robert Altman movie with Elliot
Oh
Gould
yeah. No, that's different.
and George Segal.
That's
Very,
different.
very different thing. So, yeah. But yeah, man, like, Jane Fonda, so great.
Yeah, dude. Love her.
Yeah, man. But Barbarella, like, again, just schlocky, cheesy. This feels like the kind of movie they would have made in the late 70s, early 80s to try to cash in on the Star Wars craze.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Instead
I mean,
of like
it would
something
have
they
been like
made in,
this, but
I mean, like I got some major Flash Gordon vibes off of this thing. Now, granted, De Laurentiis was producer on both,
yeah.
but like I was getting some major Flash Gordon vibes on this.
Good old Dino.
Good old Dino. I mean, we've covered a fair few De Laurentiis films on this podcast so far.
It's hard to live a life without like walking through some Dino every
Mm-hmm.
once in a while. It's very difficult. He was a prolific producer.
He really was,
60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s even. He
yeah.
was putting shit out that was blowing people's minds.
I memean, his last producer credit. Just take a guess as to when his last producer credit was.
I don't know, but didn't he produce Silence of the Lambs?
He did.
And Manhunter as well, I believe.
Manhunter, but because of Manhunter, he was grandfathered in for the rest of them. So he's also credited as a producer on Hannibal, Red Dragon, and Hannibal Rising. In fact,
nice.
Hannibal Rising is one of 3 films that he is credited on in 2007. Those are his last credits, 2007. He dies in 2010.
Nice. Yeah.
So like he's still getting executive producer credits on shit like 3 years before his death.
Just prolific as fuck in the producer department.
He's one of those guys that like I put him up there with like Roger Corman in that he's one of those guys who would give chances to directors that would go on to be really big.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, really huge. But he also was like very much like a penny pincher. A lot of his movies look fairly cheap, even if they're awesome. They still kind of have that cheap look to them. Like a lot of Corman's films did, because he was always concerned about doing it as cheaply and as quickly as possible. Reusing sets, reusing costumes, reusing actors, stuff like that to try to get the most bang for his buck.
Well, because Corman is a businessman who loves art.
Yeah.
And that's, boy, he's really good at it. There's a lot of those B-movie producers that are just really good at finding really good talent, but like being really serious about, hey, this is your budget and you've got 4 weeks. So I'll see you in fucking 4 weeks.
And that is like,
it has to have this in it. It has to have this in it. It has to have this in it. Outside of that, I don't give a shit. Make the movie.
And that's,
I mean, that's that guy in. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's how Coppola made his first movie, Dementia 13. For Corman. It was literally there was like 2 weeks, like filming wrapped early on the previous movie, and so they had 2 weeks. And so he turns to Coppola, is like, "You got anything you want to make? You got this cast, you got this location, you got 2 weeks, make it happen."
Oh yeah, like if you want to see the main locations from Dementia 13 again, just watch The Undead.
Yeah,
because most like all the sets, I believe, in that movie are from The Undead. Like they had just wrapped up on that, and
and Coppola was like second unit director or something on that, and he's like, "You want to make a film? You want to make a picture? Go for it."
Yeah, dude.
You got these people, you got this set, this location, and he makes what I think is a pretty serviceable proto slasher. in Dimension 13. Like, it's nothing to write home about, but it has a lot of those themes that would come to define Coppola's work, like family and secrets and things like it's all there in his first film. And I think that's what makes an auteur, is you can start to see the seeds of the filmmaker they would become even in the first film. And I mean, I don't know enough about the work of Roger Vadim to say whether or not he is an auteur or not, but he seems to be kind of playing in the sexploitation sandbox quite a bit.
In such a wholesome way in this movie, though. Is that just me? But like, is this the sexiest, most wholesome movie you've ever seen?
It feels like it. Like it feels both liberating and but at the same time, like, it's very, like, Barbarella is kind of an innocent, but then the male gaze is like so strong in this movie. Like, this might as well be called Male Gaze the movie.
The movie, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, like, everyone is kind of leering at Barbarella, and we are too. Like, guilty as charged. I am also leering at Barbarella.
But to be fair, there are a lot. It's not just lady flesh you see a lot of in this movie.
Correct.
With
like,
the
Pygar's got his shirt off the whole time.
I would say with the exception of Duran Duran, like, everybody's just kind of they must be really hot wherever they are. Because like, except that first guy who's like, where we could make love.
Yeah. She's like, if there's anything I can do for you, he's like, well, now that you mention it, you're pretty hot. Let's fuck. And she's like, why would you want to do that? And he's like, you asked me what I wanted. This is what I want. She's like, all right, well, here, take this pill. And he's like, I don't know anything about this. He's like, there's the bed. Let's do this the old fashioned way. And she's like, well, no, people haven't done that in hundreds of years. It's very distracting. And here's my favorite thing about Barbarella, Tucker. At the beginning of this movie, she has her own theme song, which I want to get to. I want to come back to that in a second. She's got her own theme song with its own, like, lyrics about how Barbarella's great. But then every time that she has an orgasm in this movie, she hums her own theme music. She's like just sitting there just humming her own theme music, just like in post-coital ecstasy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I would too if I had a theme song.
And
just saying.
Right? So we in the What Are We Watching segment that's coming out Sunday for our patrons, patreon.com/disinfranchpod, you and I discussed the kind of the Muzak, the very 60s kind of Muzak-y score for this film. But again, as I said, this movie's got an opening song, and this used to happen a lot in movies. It had an opening song that, like, is about the main character of the movie. When is the last time that happened? Because that used to be something that happened a lot in movies, and it hasn't really happened in a while. When's the last time you remember that happening?
I mean, you've got
because I have
like
one in
Wild
my
Wild
head
West
that I'm thinking
and
of.
Men in Black. Like,
that's the one I'm thinking of, is Wild Wild West in '99. Was that the last time that happened?
Really the last time. Yeah.
Because I think Will Smith was the last guy that could pull that off. But yeah, that hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
Where there's just been a song about the movie in the movie. Or in this case, in the case of Wild Wild West, in the closing credits. Wild Wild West, future episode of this podcast, by the way.
Yes, I can't wait.
Wiki Wiki, Wild Wild West, Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider, No You Don't Want Nada, none of this, sex gunniness, mother runniness, Buffalo Soldier, look, it's like I told you. Any damsel that's in distress, be out of that dress when you meet Jim West.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I was a kid in the 90s. What do you want from me?
What are you gonna do? And of course,
that was just what we did. We memorized Will Smith lyrics.
You were allowed to listen to Will Smith because he was the guy who didn't curse.
Right. He was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
What your parents didn't know was in the record Home Base. That's the one that has Summertime.
Summer, summer, summertime.
The Fresh Prince has one song where he lets it rip, dude.
Yeah?
It's called You Saw My Blinker. And it's a song about getting into a car accident and having to go to court for it to contest whose fault it was. And
Feels like that's ripped from the pages of his own life, but sure.
So the chorus simply is, "You saw my blinker, bitch." And he says
Sure.
he says ass, which, like, the most you ever got out of the Fresh Prince was hell. He'd have a hell and maybe a damn.
Right.
Just every once in a while. Those are very, very non-offensive. You get a couple of those in there, whatever.
You see those on primetime sitcoms in the 90s. Yeah.
Dude, whatever. But he's saying shit and ass, and there's one lyric where he's talking about he's in court and he's getting smart with the judge, and he says, the bailiff grabbed me, slammed me on the ground. Judge said, boy, you better calm down. Aren't you one of them damn rap singers? Yeah. And then I gave him the finger. He's so tough in this song. You got to hear it, dude. It's great. I love it.
It's amazing that Will Smith went from the rapper who doesn't cuss to get my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Well, people who were paying attention saw him in Bad Boys, and he's like every other word is the F word in that. Why'd I say the F word? It's the F word, Steven.
The F word?
Gosh fucking darn it, Steven.
He liked to say the F word. He liked to say the F word a lot.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, man. Will Smith, man. Get his wife's name out your fucking mouth.
My man.
My man. Barbarella.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, man.
Lantern, should we talk about the plot, you think?
Let's probably do the plot. Yeah. So this is the segment of the show we call the plot in 60 seconds. This is where one of us, at the behest of the Canadian Quarter of Indifference, which Tucker will give a flip here momentarily, I will call it in the air, and we will decide which of us will be recounting the plot of 1968's Barbarella in 60 seconds or less. Tucker, give that a flipperino.
And you're going to call it in the air, eh?
I am, eh?
Okay, here we go.
And let's call heads.
It is tails.
Fuck me running. Okay.
Boom, 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 boom. I'm so glad because I don't really know what happens in this.
This is such a vignette movie that plot is almost an afterthought. I'm going to stick to the main plot of this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you go ahead and put 60 seconds on the clock.
Shit. Yeah.
Give me the 30 and 10-second warnings, and I will go ahead and recount the plot of Barbarella.
Wowzers. Okay. So we're doing one. Oh, that is a minute right there. Okay, go, Steven.
Oh shit. So it's the 40 something hundreds, 4000 AD, and Barbarella is an Earth woman in space, and just she's naked all the time and no one cares, and because sex is not really a thing that happens, except she crash lands on a planet in exchange for helping her fix her ship. The dude wants to have sex, and so she has sex for the first time and finds out it's really awesome. So she gets off the planet and goes to another planet and meets an angel dude and has sex with him to get him to fly, and so he flies. She
30
meets
seconds.
She's trying to find this guy named Duran, who's hungry like the wolf for causing some mass destruction. So she gets to the other planet. The angel guy flies her into the city. She meets the tyrant queen of the world. And it turns out that Duran is actually her concierge. And he has a plan to kill her and take over the planet with his positronic ray. Except that Barbarella and the queen team up and release the monster that feeds on evil, and it destroys the planet, except for Barbarella, the angel, and the queen, who fly off to live another day. The end.
Your time is over. Well done.
Thank you. Well, there's also a bunch of ladies sitting around smoking hookah with like a dude like in the hookah pipe.
They're just
like
smoking
crawling around.
Yeah.
They're just smoking a dude. They're like Essence of Man. Check it out.
Essence of dude.
Like, and just Barbarella just like is totally going to return to that planet where the weirdly hairy dude is, except he's only hairy from like here down, like just like his
he's so hairy.
It's clearly fake hair, like because it like starts at his collarbone and just goes straight down. Like nothing on his shoulders, nothing on his back. It's just like from his collarbone down. But yeah.
Well, the type of dude that he is, though, I feel like he would kind of have to be that hairy. That's why they did that, I think, because he's kind of a burly dude.
Yeah.
Burly boy.
we should also point out this is the first ever speaking role for like famed French mime Marcel Marceau, who
And you wouldn't
plays.
know it because he's fantastic.
No, he's so good. Like, and to hear him talk about it, like he really enjoyed it, but it was difficult for him. He's like, I didn't have trouble learning the lines. It was just redirecting my form of expression from, or here's the quote. He said, I did not forget the lines, but I have trouble organizing them. It's a different way of making what's inside come out. It goes from the brain to the vocal cords and not directly to the body, which is such a interesting way of thinking about that. Like being as his preferred method of performance is totally physical, like the verbal aspect has got to be a completely new way of doing it, but he fucking kills it. He's so good.
Mm-hmm. He is good.
And I'm not going to lie. Was really afraid that when I heard Professor Ping, we were going to get like some really gross yellow face, and they avoid that. Mercifully, they avoid that. So
he's just a dude. He's got a little thing, like a, what do you call that? Not a microscope, but like what the detectives have,
magnifying glass,
like a magnifying glass, but he puts it on his forehead, not in his eye.
No, not at all.
So I don't know what's going on there, but
I don't know. It's just, but again, it's the production design and the world building of this thing are so well realized and so interesting.
Wacky.
It's
wacky.
Wild. Like the planet with the creepy kids. Yeah. Like where she meets the big hairy dude. Like
those dolls, man, that takes a turn there for a minute. You're like, whoa, hold on, everybody calm down.
This movie is fucking insane. And it's like it's almost like an anthology film in which Barbarella is just like the character that pops from like anthology to anthology. Like she's just having all these wacky adventures. Like you can absolutely,
of Barbarella.
Exactly. You can absolutely see how this thing would be very easy to sequelize. And it feels like they're taking like several conceits or like stories from the comics and just like putting them, like smashing a bunch of them together and calling it a movie, which is kind of interesting. Like the way that and I've not actually read any of the Barbarella comics, but apparently like Pygar and Professor Ping are both characters from the comics. As is the Black Queen. Like they've got several, and there are probably several other characters that would have shown up in any sequels that they made. And to be clear, De Laurentiis wanted to make a sequel to this movie.
Oh yeah, who wouldn't? Like they were ready to do it. Like it was.
And it's not even that this movie made money, because it really didn't. But like they were also, and the concept that, do you know about the concept that they had?
No, I do not.
It was called Barbarella Goes Down.
Oh, I do know that title, yeah.
And it was supposed to be like a set of wacky underwater adventures with Barbarella.
Oh, that would have been fun visually.
That would have been fun. Yeah. There could have been some cool stuff. And one idea De Laurentiis had was to have it star Fonda's daughter, who was born the year this movie came out, which is weird.
Well, no, you're getting confused there, because that was the story that he wanted to go with directly after the first one was made. But when they were trying to do the sequel in the 90s, they wanted Bridget Fonda.
Well, that's not Fonda's daughter, though. That's Peter's daughter, not Jane's.
Well, then who are you talking about?
Her daughter, Vanessa Vadim.
Oh yeah, I don't know who that is.
That's her daughter with Roger Vadim.
Yeah, but probably Bridget Fonda, though.
I mean, that would have made more sense in the 90s for sure.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, in 90s they were like, let's revamp it. But yeah, it never.
Drew Barrymore was attached at one point, I think.
In the 2000s, they were going to do it with Rose McGowan. They were going to do a remake with Rose McGowan. Robert Rodriguez was supposed to direct it, and it would have starred Rose McGowan as Barbarella. But Universal, when he's like, I need 80 million to do it, Universal was like, we're good, peace out. And so he found another company that would do it, but it would have required a lot of time away from his family because they were in Germany. They would have given him 70 million. And he's like, no, thanks. And so it just kind of like fell apart after that. But yeah. And
He's
then
Robbie
they've been talking
Rodriguez. He's
about,
a hometown boy.
he is, they've been talking about doing a TV series since 2012. So, and I mean, they're still talking about it. Like Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria is supposed to be attached as Barbarella, which should be great.
I don't know. I like this movie, but it kind of feels like lightning in a bottle. You know, I don't think.
And it's one of those things, I don't know how well it's going to hold up today, because I mean, we now live in the society where people are just opposed to sex scenes in movies, just full stop. Like people, there are legitimately people who say sex has no place in film. To which I say, get the fuck out of here. That's insane.
Well, I've to a certain extent, I'm not going to say that sex doesn't have a place in film, but I think all too often, sometimes a sex scene can ruin the tone of a film. Like there's some movies like The Hustler. Like if they made The Hustler today, you'd probably get like a full-on sex scene, and it just wouldn't work.
But I mean,
I would say the majority of the time, all you have to do is imply it. There are some situations where I think within the context of the film, a actual sex scene, and sometimes a rather graphic one, is necessary and fits the plot. But most of the time, when you get those kind of sex scenes, they don't need to fucking be there. Most of the time.
I think that is a fault of the filmmaker rather than anything else. Like the screenwriter, the filmmaker needing to understand. And I mean, I just got done listening to the You Must Remember This series on the erotic 90s. Karina Longworth did this like 2-year series on the erotic films of the 80s and the 90s, which is
shit like Wild Things and Basic Instinct and the Striptease,
Jade,
Showgirls.
Yes, like all of that.
What was Poison Ivy? With Lil Alicia Silverstone.
And the Poison Ivy, that was Drew Barrymore.
Same thing.
But like it's that, like the erotic thriller used to be a thing. Like sex used to be a part of films, and ever since the really, I think the one that killed it was Eyes Wide Shut. Kind of killed the erotic thriller. And I fucking love Eyes Wide Shut. I absolutely stand that movie. It is amazing. It's a fucking phenomenal film. But like that is the last film that really was allowed to be an erotic movie. And then once 9/11 hits, and the kind of the wave of American patriotism followed by the wave of American conservatism that's kind of had a chokehold on society for the last 20 years, it just doesn't happen anymore. Like that's just not a thing that exists in movies. It still happens, but like it's an outlier when it does. That's not like there aren't movies specifically with like sex as a backbone. And I think the proliferation of internet porn probably has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, it's not taboo anymore. You can see anything like that because like that's what a good sex scene is. And like I say, my stance is I'm not against sex in films, but I think 90% of the time it's not necessary. But like when it is necessary and it does service the story, like titillation is part of that.
Necessarily.
Way fucking part of that. Yeah. You're supposed to be a little like, oh, well, well, I never, you know?
Right.
You're supposed to get uncomfortable when you watch it with your mom, you know?
Exactly. And you should be watching that with your mom.
Probably. Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, that's a family film.
That's a
family watches it every year.
That's a fucking Christmas movie, Eyes Wide Shut.
Grandma drives up from Arlington to watch it with us. It's amazing.
Hell yeah. But I mean, that is like, but, and again, I like normalize sex in movies. That's what I say. But like, and I mean, nowadays that kind of stuff is limited to like prestige TV shit, like Euphoria. You can have sex scenes in there, nudity in like stuff like Big Little Lies or what have you.
Well,
Like
for
you
me,
can get some of that there, but it's almost never in movies because the only movies that get made are PG-13 blockbusters, and
but
there's no room for nudity in those. There's no room for any kind of romance whatsoever in those most of the time.
I think for me, how they've really shot themselves in the foot with this is that everybody's so against it that now, like, you have to have a show like Euphoria that is like 90% sex scenes. And for me, a good sex scene,
In
serves its
fairness,
purpose,
it's
but
90% drug use and 10% sex scenes.
it can really slow a narrative down if you don't use it right. Like, it can really slow a narrative down, especially like we said before, like there's no real titillation anymore. So like you don't even have that. You're just yawning through that shit. Most modern movies that have sex scenes or TV shows, I'm just like, oh well, I'm gonna be bored for at least 30 seconds. Let's see what's going on my phone. Like, I'm not uncomfortable. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. I'm not a prude. It's boring. It's boring most of the time, I think.
And see, I think it depends on the context, but
Well, yeah,
also
like I say, when
like,
it's done right, fuck yeah, I'm into it. But
but I'm also not. It happens so rarely anymore that I just want to see it at all. Like I don't care how well it's used, but I mean, you say it like slows the movie to a crawl. Like movies are 4 hours long these days. Like and movies could stand to be shorter. So like,
well,
if a
I'm
sex scene is
saying
what's slowing down the movie as opposed to like needless dialogue, sure.
it can affect the pacing for sure. I
Not in
think.
this movie. This movie, everything else affects the pacing.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the opposite problem.
Yeah. And in
Movie
fairness, there's no real sex in this movie. It's all implied and off screen. And again, usually cut away and then cut back to Jane Fonda humming her own theme song. Like that's typically how the sex scenes in this movie work. You do get a lot of Jane Fonda naked, but you don't really have any sex scenes outside of the excessive machine.
You know what sets the bar for sex scenes for me?
What's that?
Have you seen An Officer and a Gentleman, Steven?
Mm-mm. I have not. I've heard
With
of
Louis
it.
Gossett Jr. and Richard Gere.
Deborah Winger, right?
Yeah, and the guy who plays the detective on the TV remake of Carrie. Um, that movie
Mm-hmm.
is the kind of movie that the sex scenes service the story. They're done in a very realistic way, and I mean it's kind of part of the, I don't want to say the heart of the film, but it's part of the emotional throughway of the film. Like the emotional vein of the film that's going through that movie lives and dies in those sex scenes.
Mm.
And that's what I mean. Like a sex scene here and there, whatever. But if you're not doing it an officer and a gentleman way, if it's not servicing the story, if it's not making me feel something outside of being bored, like I'm not interested. And I am of a mind that, um, now and since the beginning of time, 90%, well, I won't say 75% of sex scenes are just there to be there. And they're boring and stupid, and who gives a shit? I'm saying I'm not against it. I'm a purist. So when it comes to sex scenes, I'm a
I
fucking purist,
guess.
Steven.
I guess, man. And I'm not that precious about it. So
Well, and it
yeah.
depends on the type of movie too. I'll watch a slasher. Yeah, everybody fuck. That's great. Like that's part of the whole. That's part of the whole thing. That's another thing. Like that's used well. Slasher
Mm-hmm.
movies. That's part of it. If I don't see
And
some people fucking, I'm gonna be mad.
that's always been a part of the slasher formula, though.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
and again, that's part of the. And we talked about this on our first My Bloody Valentine episode.
Mm-hmm.
When Mike Snoonian came in many moons ago to talk about that original movie,
That was a
is
good
like,
episode.
yeah, it was. I thought so too. But when you're a teenager and growing up around that time, a horror movie is a cheap date that you can go to, and you can see some nudity, and you can like see some people die. It's a transgress. It was in and of itself a transgressive act,
Mm-hmm.
and its own kind of act of rebellion. And yeah, it's part of the formula. It's baked into the cake of the thing. Even in something like My Bloody Valentine, where there's not a lot of nudity, like there's outside of the opening scene, I don't think there's any. but like sex is still baked into the cake of the thing. Like Halloween, I think one character takes her shirt off, but you know, the others are flirting and sexing and smoking pot and all sorts of shit. Like Friday the 13th, everyone's fucking in Friday the 13th. Like that's just what I mean. But that becomes Friday the 13th kind of learns the wrong lessons from Halloween and then takes those to their extreme, and that becomes the norm of the genre.
Well, it pretty much gives you everything that Halloween held back on.
Mm-hmm.
And for reasons of tone and pacing, you know,
Right.
and the kind of movie that it was, Friday the 13th was like, well, we're not that artsy fartsy. We're we're
And I
just gonna fucking show a bunch of naked people and they're all gonna get killed very graphically and it's gonna be wonderful.
and I think someone involved with that movie, I think it might have been Sean Cunningham, was like a porn producer. So like that was kind of what he knew. And so this was kind of his shot at legitimacy. And he took it and made a mint
Sean
as a
Cunningham
result.
is an interesting dude. Take a look at his filmography when you get a chance because you can't pin that boy down. He
No.
does everything. Like people are like, "Oh, shit, that's Cunningham, fucking Friday the 13th." Yeah, but he's just a normal movie producer. He does not give favor to horror.
Mm-mm.
Like he just does whatever's clever, you know? He produced Bob Balaban's second directorial effort, My Boyfriend's Back.
You do love you some Bob Balaban.
I do love those first two films that he made. I really, really do.
But I mean, he also was the producer of the original Wes Craven Last House on the Left, all of the House movies, all of the Friday the 13th movies. Future episode of this podcast, Deep Star 6.
Yep.
Like he's got quite a resume on him in terms of being a producer. So yeah, I mean, dude has a history, and good for him, man.
Yeah, dude. He's
Yeah,
a
man.
writer too, you know. He does some writing.
Yeah, it's you know, again, don't pin him down. He's
I mean,
vast. He contains multitudes, and that's okay.
he's just a dude making movies, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just a dude. But he didn't make this movie.
No, sure didn't.
He
No,
did
this
not
is
make Barbarella.
Roger Vadim made this
So
movie.
Bordino produced this one.
Yeah, your boy Dino. And this is the third Dino de Laurentiis sci-fi movie that we've discussed on this podcast.
What
And
were
the
the other
first one
ones?
we've actually not had a guest for. We've actually done Dune with our
Oh
friend
yeah,
Hope
yeah.
Lickner.
The
The
David Lynch
epic
one. That was Dino de Laurentiis. Yeah,
that
fuck
was
yeah.
Dino. And Flash Gordon, which we talked about with our friend
Yeah.
James McCormick. That was also another Dino sci-fi film. So this is kind of the third Dino de Laurentiis sci-fi movie, our unofficial Dino de Laurentiis sci-fi trilogy on this podcast, and this is his earliest one of those. So I just thought that was kind of cool. I was looking at some of the other stuff that he was involved with, and I'm like, we've covered some of these. This is awesome. So yeah.
And you know, to fans of the podcast, which tend to overwhelmingly be horror fans,
Mm-hmm.
he also
Probably
produced.
because we come from, like, a lot of people come to us from Pod and the Pendulum. So hey, thank you.
He produced Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
Correct. Which I would argue are the two best films in that franchise. But
You look, all three of them are so different. I love them equally.
here's the thing:
really
I love
do,
them all, but
because
not equally.
I don't because Evil Dead is so different than the other two, man.
I
It's
know,
not silly. It's fucked up and
I know.
awful, and I love it.
And I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I do. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't hit me as much as the other two do.
Well, for me, they all hit the same, just in different ways. And that's what I think's beautiful about that trilogy. Like I was saying earlier about the Cardigans.
Mm-hmm.
Like that trilogy, it's three different movies in the same franchise, you know,
Yeah,
three completely different genres, honestly.
right. And I mean, and then you get the other films in that franchise that kind of go back and try to do what the first one was doing, but like that's
you've got that, but you've got Ash versus Evil Dead, which scratches the Evil Dead 2
mm-hmm.
Army of Darkness kind of tone.
Yeah.
You know,
Although it's not
you
able
kind
to,
of.
it's not allowed to reference Army of Darkness because of rights issues. But yes,
But we all know what happened.
yeah. For some reason, for some people, including our good friend Brett Wright, that's a non-starter is not being able to reference Army of Darkness because our boy's big on lore and continuity apparently. So
I understand that, but that show, for what it was pretty damn special.
no, it was fun. It was fun as hell. I loved it. And I love the way that they
When he
ended it.
when he came out that dude's butt that one time,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit,
Yeah, and
literal shit,
yes, and
came right out that dude's butt.
you get Ted Raimi in there. You get
Yes, gotta
fucking
get
Puppet
Ted in there.
Ash. Fucking Puppet Ash is great. Ashy
Ashy
Slashy.
Slashy, yeah.
You love it. You love to see it. You really do.
I
Like,
love the two new main characters too, his little sidekick people. I love
mm-hmm.
what they add to it, plus like how they both kind of weave in and out of possession, and I like those characters a lot. I would love for Stars to do a TV movie special of an Ash versus Evil Dead TV movie special. I just want to know what happened to what's his nuts and Homegirl. I just want more of them. Just like wrap their shit up.
Well, maybe they'll show up in one of the upcoming movies if they keep doing more Evil Dead movies. Maybe they'll show up in one of those.
That would be nice. Their likenesses and voices were used in the Evil Dead game that came out recently. They are
I heard
playable
that.
characters in that.
I heard they also brought in our girl from the first Evil Dead remake for our previous episode on that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Which
Everybody's there.
that was all I wanted was for them to bring her in, and I'm glad they did.
But I never played that game because Dead by Dawn exists.
Mm.
Do you know about this, Steven? You heard about this? You seen this? You heard about
Dead
this?
by Dawn? Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah.
So, but the whole thing about Dead by Dawn is Dead by Dawn happens, right? And after they license every character you could think of from any franchise that you could possibly think of,
right?
Every character, every horror franchise after that goes and makes their own Dead by Daylight game.
Right.
Exact same game, just focused on that franchise. You've got Friday the 13th, the game, which is the same thing. You can either play as Jason or the survivors. You've got Evil Dead, the game, which is the same thing. You can either play as the good guys or Deadites. And now we're about to have, we just got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game, which is the exact fucking same thing. And guess what's next, Steven? Guess what's next?
Nightmare on Elm Street?
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, I would never have guessed that, but that's awesome.
I'm actually kind of interested in that one. Just because it's fucking Killer Clowns, dude.
Future episode of this podcast, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Future PG film. Which also, speaking of PG films, to bring it back to Barbarella, when this was re-released on VHS, it was rated PG. And that's when I saw it on HBO. Because back in those days, you had to look in the newspaper for the TV schedule, much like your movie times. And on the newspaper, it said Barbarella was PG. And after that first scene, I was like, how the fuck is this PG? There's titties everywhere, man. What's going on?
That is a weird thing, is that you used to be able to show titties in a PG-13 movie or in a PG movie.
Something that has not been confirmed in any official capacity, but something I heard before the internet, which is how you learn things. People told you things, or you read it in a book.
Sure.
Was that how they got away with that? Is, well, no, that doesn't make sense because she's not an alien.
No,
because
she's from Earth.
A lot of species didn't get an X because, like, she's an alien, technically.
Sure.
Which is stupid. The MPA is so fucking stupid. Did you ever see that movie that was about the MPA, that documentary? I think it's called is it called The F Word?
I don't think I have. No, it sounds interesting though. I would check it out.
No, that's not it. What the fuck was that called? I have to look it up because it's amazing. Because like it's kind of a sketchy organization. This film is not yet rated, is what it's called.
Oh, I have heard of it. That was an IFC documentary, right?
Yes, it was. Oh, yes, it was.
Okay, I'm familiar with it. I've not actually seen it though.
I'm gonna check Just Watch here because you need to look at it. Like, I wouldn't put it all the way on top of your list, but like priority is like Code Orange probably on that one.
Okay.
It's really good. Like, it's a great like documentary, but also it's kind of investigative journalism.
Okay.
And it gets a little wild, man. Like I said, they're shady as fuck, dude.
Oh, for sure. No, absolutely.
Shady as fuck. I don't see it anywhere streaming. I'll find it at some point and I'll send you a link or whatever.
Okay.
Anybody who that sounds interested to that's listening right now, it has my recommendation. It's great. It's a wonderful watch. It's a well-made documentary and it's interesting. So,
Right on. No, I'm super interested in that actually. So yeah, I would absolutely check that out.
yeah, dude. It's not on YouTube. That sucks. I'll find it.
You will. If anyone can find it, it's you.
It's me. I'm the guy. I find stuff.
It's you. Hi, you're the problem. It's you.
Hi, I'm the guy. It's me. I'm the dude. So what else? What else we got to say about this movie, Steven?
I don't know, man. I dig the aesthetic of it. Like there are things that I don't like that kind of fall a little flat. Like again, the pacing's kind of rough. Like it, as you mentioned at the top, it gets kind of boring in places. The lasciviousness with which everyone treats Barbarella gets kind of a little tiresome toward the end. Like every guy that sees her wants to fuck her, which I get
Fair.
it. It's Jane Fonda. She's
Fair.
gorgeous, but like narratively that's kind of boring. I
If it weren't
I
Jane
do
Fonda, it would be boring. I mean, just the way
mm,
her character is written and the way she reacts to it. That's kind of the thing that sort of like puts out the fire of this movie. This movie could be on fire, but what puts it out is she's just so sweet and wholesome about it. Like these dudes are like, "Oh, you want to fuck?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, I do. Can we go do that right now?
and then
Like, we could do that if you want.
when she actually fucks for the first time, she's like, "Oh, this is great.
This is
What
rad, and I like
what a
this. Let's
what a
do this some
wonderful
more."
thing we've just done."
Yeah, exactly.
Let's and in fact she gets really upset with the character named Dildano when he suggests that they do it the regular way. Dude, dildo's in his
His
name.
name is Dildo.
Dildano, but yeah.
He's in a lot of shit too, man. Check out that guy's filmography. Holy
Oh my
crap.
god. Yeah, like this there's some pretty solid performers in here. Let me see. We've got initially before Jane Fonda, Vadim approached his ex-wife Bridget Bardot. She didn't want to do another sexualized role, which I don't blame her. And Sophia Loren, who was pregnant, so she couldn't really take the role. Most of the rest of the cast were recommended by someone involved with the production. I think Fonda recommends John Philip Law, who plays Pygar, because they had worked together.
Yeah.
And he was a big comics fan, so he like read all the comic books before he
Wowzers.
got into it. Anita Pallenberg was recommended by one of the writers, Terry Southern, because they had worked together on The Clockwork Orange. She was then girlfriend of Brian Jones, the member of the Rolling Stones who would die the following year, one of the early members of the 27 Club.
He was the rhythm guitarist for Rolling Stones, the original rhythm
Yes,
guitarist. And
correct.
he died in a pool, didn't he? Didn't he drown?
Yep. Died in a pool in 1969. You want to know how I know that?
Because you have the internet?
Well, he there's an analog of that character in a chapter of Alan Moore's third volume of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, called
Word?
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Century. And the second of three parts of that takes place in 1969, and it begins with the death of the Brian Jones analog.
Yo, I thought I had read all the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen shit. So that doesn't sound familiar. When did that come out?
Volume 3. I mean,
There's a
have you?
volume 3? I
There's a
read the second
volume
one.
4, dude.
Fucking
There's
what?
4 volumes, and there's a fucking Captain Nemo miniseries.
Next, you're gonna tell me there was a movie made in the early 2000s with Sean Connery.
I mean, we don't talk about that. Well, actually, we did talk
We
about
did.
that.
Yeah, you did.
We did. That was
That's a Van Helsing type movie. I recognize that it's not great, but I just cannot get over how awesome the whole movie looks.
and see
In
that's
that
Brett's
early 2000s, late 90s, like it really hits that spot, dude.
that's where Brett lands on it. Whereas I, the guy who's read the comics, is like, I can't sanction this
I have
buffoonery.
too. Like I fucking love the comics and they are sacred, but also, yeah, bring on the buffoonery.
Do
Because
you want
holy
to
shit, if
know?
that production design and that early CGI is just perfect for
Can I
that.
can I tell you, Tucker, who the main villain is of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Volume 4? Can I tell you who it is?
It's not fucking Moriarty again, is it?
Nope, he's dead. He
Oh,
died at the
good.
end of Volume 1.
Who it is?
Spoiler alert, if you don't want to know about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Volume 4, skip ahead 5 seconds. It's James Bond.
I like that.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. Like,
Wait,
it's
the
fucking
third one takes
awesome.
place in the 60s though. Who's the
The
villain
third
in the
one,
third
okay,
one?
so the third one is called Century. So the third
Uh-huh.
volume takes place in,
Order this shit
it's,
right now.
the first chapter is 1910, second chapter is 1969, third chapter is 2009. So it takes place over the course
Oh,
of 100 years.
I like that.
And the main villain, I'm not even going to tell you who the main villain of the third part is, because it's the most fun reveal.
Okay.
But and that actually, between volumes 2 and 3, there was a one shot like hardcover release called The Black Dossier, which
I
has
remember that
like,
one.
that's
I've
got a
read that.
shit ton of lore in it. Okay, so you've read that one. So then you need
Mhm.
to read volume 3. Then you need to read the Nemo trilogy, which that follows Nemo's daughter from the first issue of League Volume 3.
Niemet, I believe, is her official name in canon.
No, it's Captain Nemo still. And the first one of those takes place is that one. The first one is riffing on in the Mountains of Madness, at the Mountains of Madness,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
the
Fucking
Lovecraft
Lovecraft.
story.
Yeah.
It also references John Carpenter's The Thing.
Well, what's this
Um,
Century 1910?
that's the
Like
first
a one
volume
shot?
of. That's the first part of Volume 3.
Okay. I see Black
So
Dossier.
the Nemo trilogy is Hearts of Ice. The second one is Roses of Berlin, I think, and that's
I
the
see
one that takes place during
2009
World
here.
War
That's
II,
volume 3. Okay.
where they fight Adnoid Hinkle, who's the character from The Great Dictator, who's the Hitler analog in
Hell
League of
yeah.
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
They're
And then
straight up fighting Charlie Chaplin. That's hilarious.
the third one is like, it riffs on like the Boys from Brazil and the Stepford Wives. You got like some of the creatures from the Black Lagoon in there. Like, it's fucking rad as hell, dude.
You know who I
Like,
bet has all of these in trade paperback?
me,
My brother-in-law, and I'll bet he'd let me borrow them.
he probably would. You should text him and ask him. But no, I highly recommend everyone go out and read all of Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It starts off as a, hey, what if the Victorian era had its own Justice League? And by the end, it's an entire treatise on this modern state of fiction.
Well,
It's kind of insane.
it's such a fun idea, and at the time it was such a unique idea because it's not just like Justice League where you've got DC heroes and they form a team. No,
Mm-hmm.
these are just like all classic literary characters from all
Mm-hmm.
the way back. You've got Alan Quartermain, you've got from out the Alan Quartermain series, you've
Right.
got Nina Harker from fucking Dracula.
Mina. But yeah.
You've got Captain Nemo from,
Mm-hmm.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde,
Mm-hmm.
Dorian motherfucking Gray.
He's not actually in the book.
He's not? I could have
He's
sworn he
not.
was in that. He doesn't show up for just
Mm-mm.
like a second. There's not even a cameo.
There is a painting in the British Museum of a very hideously ugly man, and it's marked as under renovation or under restoration. But
That
it is a blink and you miss it picture on a
that might
wall.
I would have noticed it though. That's probably what I'm thinking of. I do know he has a pretty big part in the movie, and that's as much as I love the movie. The two things that they wasted were the characters that they added because it's a great idea to add them. They just fucked it up because Dorian Gray, holy shit, that's amazing. That could
I
have been
remember
so rad.
when they told, and I said, I remember mentioning this on our LXG episode. When Alan Moore found out that they added Dorian Gray, he's like, "What's his power? Being pretty?" Like,
I don't know, man. I think you could do something with it, man. And Tom Sawyer, I kind of liked. I don't like how they shoehorned him in and that he did nothing the entire time. But that's a good idea too. Like
in
they could have done
future
something with that.
volumes, like in 1910, they add Thomas Carnacki, AJ Raffles, and Orlando. And then in 69, it's just Orlando, Quartermain, and Mina. And then at the end of the third part of Century, they add in a few other characters that I will not mention because that's part of the surprise of the book is who they add. But yeah,
Did I give the full original lineup?
you did. Yeah,
No.
it's
Oh,
just those
wait. I'm
five.
looking at the cover right here. Yeah. Yep. Visible Man, Nemo, Mina. Did you think I said Nina?
Yeah.
Because I definitely said Mina. Bitch, I
Oh,
was in Dracula. Get out of town.
I thought you said Nina. Sorry,
No.
my bad.
I'm
I don't know, man.
I'm
Play it back.
There are certain groups of people that I'm famous for my Renfield performance. Mainly me
Right.
and me.
There's still people who talk about the time I played Amos Hart in our Broadway review in college. So
Is there
I
video of it?
sang.
Can I see it?
There is a video of it. I do not have it. No, you can't see it.
But what if I saw it though?
I don't want you to see it.
Just what if?
I don't want anyone to see it.
Damn it. All right. Well,
but no, like I went to like my friend Annika's funeral and like her stepmom was like, "Oh, it's Mr. Cellophane." And I was like, "Hi."
oh yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
And like my partner and I knew each other in college. So when we went to see her parents are like, "We have that video. Let's play it." And I was like, "We don't need to do that at all. Like at
Did you though? Did
all,
you
at
see it?
all."
And did you do it anyway though? Did you look at it?
No,
Did you play
we
it?
did not. We did not.
Well,
They
that's too
did
bad.
play a video of my partner singing a duet with one of my friends from college though. So that was
cool, right?
Yeah.
I'm way into that.
But yeah, Barbarella comes out October 10th. Or no, I'm sorry, October 10th. I had it right the first time. October 10th, 1968. It doesn't open at number one at the box office. Number one at the box office that weekend is Rachel. But it is by the following weekend, the 16th, it is number one at the box office. Of course, I can't find the full box office readout because it's a 60s movie, and anything before 1980 is pretty damn near impossible to find. To find there. It is, in terms of the highest grossing films of 1968, it doesn't crack the top 28, I don't think. I'm looking here. No, it does not. That movie makes, well, it would have had to have, because it definitely made more than Dr. Faustus. Anyway, doesn't matter. The movie makes about $2.5 million on a budget of about $9 million. So not a big money maker. Again, Dino wanted to make a sequel to it, but ultimately that fell through. But yeah, so I don't have the full box office, unfortunately. But it is it definitely did not do as well as they wanted it to, unfortunately.
That's too bad. I think it deserves a little more than that.
It's kind of a bummer. But yeah, it was number one for 2 weeks. It has
developed a following, though. I mean, people love this fucking movie.
It is. It definitely has its own cult following for sure. Let me check something out here real quick.
Oh no, because you're checking it out. I would need you to look, but you're already doing a thing, so that would be silly. Duh.
I was gonna see if I could find the box office. I'm having a rough time finding the box office here.
I don't know if you're gonna find it.
I don't think I am.
You're gonna try real hard, but I think you're gonna come up empty-handed.
I had a dream.
Yeah, well.
I would love to be able to find it, man.
I would love for you to be able to find it, but like I say, I think it's a fool's errand, Steven.
Mm-hmm. You're probably right.
I don't think you're not gonna come up with anything. I don't think. And I don't want to have to edit this out, so I'm kind of trying to fill this space. So I wonder how close you are to giving up.
I've given up. All right.
Nice. All right.
So the tomatometer score on this movie is a 74%. The critics' consensus, unevenly paced and thoroughly cheesy, Barbarella is nonetheless full of humor, entertaining visuals, and Jane Fonda's sex appeal. Boy, howdy is it ever.
Agreed.
Metascore on this one is a 51 with mixed or average reviews from 13 critics. And the Letterboxd score is a 3.2. Tucker, out of 5 possible stars, how are you rating 1968's Barbarella?
I'm going to give it a 3 stars.
I also...
Sorry, go ahead.
I also gave it 3 stars.
Wonderful. It's totally a 3-star movie. Like, top to bottom, solid 3 stars.
It's the epitome of a 3-star movie. Like, it is, but that's not a bad thing. It's a fucking little gem. Like, it's a fun little movie. I like it. Like, I had a good time with it. I'm not gonna say you shouldn't watch this, because you totally should. Like, it's fun, it's sexy, it's silly, it's goofy, it is again, it's thoroughly camp. Like, this movie is just textbook definition of camp.
I would also describe it as a midnight movie. So, like, the more people you see it with, the better. You're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
good time.
You will. Yeah, this is a movie. This is the kind of movie I think the perfect viewing experience might be like a drive-through, or a drive-in rather.
Yeah,
like absolutely. A drive-in theater. That would be like, what would you put as a double bill for this one?
Well, if it's right here and right now, it would be CQ. See what I mean? It's Barbarella without being Barbarella. You see what I mean, right?
Based only on the cover of that movie that you're showing me, yeah, I do get that. I'm picking up.
It's about the making of a film that's very similar to Barbarella.
Okay.
Roman Coppola, dude, get it? Yeah, that would be a good double feature. I would do Barbarella first and then CQ. I guess another film that I would put with this that has kind of a similar tone with its camp, even though they're nothing alike, I would put this as a double feature with the return of Captain Invincible, which at the end of this month you will find out why.
Sure. Right on.
Yeah, dude.
Well, that's pretty rad. Well, that I think is all we have to say about Barbarella. Look, this is the Disenfranchised Podcast. And if you're listening to us, first of all, if you're new to this episode, welcome. Hopefully we did Barbarella justice for you. And if not, check out some of our other episodes on movies that you like. Maybe we don't do justice to those either. Maybe we do. Who knows? Not me. I don't know.
Yeah, if you didn't like this episode, just check out more.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to as many as it takes before you start to like us.
Boy, you thought you hated this episode. Just you wait.
We got a show for you. It's called Every Other One. But no, we are this franchise podcast. We love doing this. We do this every week. We do it for you because we love you, and also because we're friends and we like to talk about movies. But you can find us on social media at DisenfranchPod. We are on Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, and Blue Sky at DisenfranchPod. You can shoot us an email on disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what failed franchise starter you'd like to see us cover. I know friends of the podcast tend to just text me directly. But yeah, you can also head on over to patreon.com. This Sunday, we're going to be dropping patreon.com/disenfranchpod. This Sunday, we're going to be dropping the episode of What Are We Watching, where Tucker talks about The Cardigans. So if you want to know what that reference was about, you're going to have to check out that behind the paywall. That's $5 a month. And that gives you access to literal hours, days of content behind that paywall.
Days.
I was actually talking to one of our patrons a couple weeks ago, and he just mentioned offhand that he was not expecting that much behind the paywall. So that's, there's a lot there for you to wade through. If you're invested, then there's if you've got the money and the time, we've got the shows for you back there behind that paywall.
Look, my motto when I used to be a gigolo was, if you've got the dime, I've got the time. And that's the Disenfranchised Patreon. If you got the dime, we got the time. If you got the $5, we're gonna be divers.
We come aliver.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Give us it's not perfect.
$5 and bring us alive. I'll work on it.
Give us $5 and we come alive.
Hey, I like that. Kind of. It could be better. We'll work on it.
We'll punch it up.
We'll workshop it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll kick it. We'll fly it up the flagpole, see who salutes it. Anyway, but yeah, so much content. Patreon.com/disenfranchpod. And you look, while you're out on the internet, if you don't want to give us money, that's fine. We understand. Times are hard, money's tight. We get it, but please head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star rating. And if you do that, if you would go the extra mile and leave us a review, that would go a long way to helping us find new listeners much like yourselves. And we love you, and we'd love to see other people like you find our podcast as well. So if you would do that, you would have our eternal gratitude. Hey, I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Twitter. No, I'm not on Twitter anymore. Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Chewy Walrus. You can find our absent co-host Brett Wright at sus_warlock on Letterboxd and Instagram, or at suswarlock on Blue Sky. Tucker, where can we find you on socials these days?
You can find me still on the YouTubes. Actually, I'm gonna try to do a Christmas song, record and release a Christmas song this month, because I wrote a tiny bit of a Christmas song a couple years ago called Christmas Spaghetti.
Okay.
And
is it about the spaghetti that Will Ferrell's character makes in the movie Elf?
No, it's about the spaghetti I make at Christmas, because spaghetti's rad.
Oh, okay.
It's my Christmas meal. I don't give a fuck about no Elf. Man, don't nobody like that. Actually, a lot of people like that movie.
I was just saying, see our previous episode on Elf.
I don't get it. But no, this Christmas spaghetti song is about making spaghetti on Christmas. And I started writing it a couple years ago, and I stopped, and then I forgot all about it. And then the other day, I was just, sitting on the can like you do. And going through some of my notes and stuff, and I found those lyrics, and I was like, you know what? Let's punch this up. Let's finish this song. And so I wrote 2 more verses and called it a day. And now I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to put it together.
On, man. Hell yeah.
And it's called Christmas Spaghetti. It's about eating spaghetti on Christmas because spaghetti is rad and Christmas is rad. I'm just trying to put those 2 things together, Just 2 rad things hanging out together in the same space. And also, I've always wanted to do a Christmas song because Christmas music is, I don't want to say it's my favorite kind of music, but it's such a strange and unique genre. I'm very fascinated by Christmas music, and I do love a lot of Christmas music also.
You do. You've already started listening to Christmas music, have you not?
I have. I start November 1st, though I started November 2nd because I was too tired on November 1st to listen to any Christmas music. But I did listen to Merry Christmas from Brenda Lee by Brenda Lee, which is probably my favorite Christmas record. And the next one up is going to be an old time Christmas by Randy Travis, which is my second favorite Christmas album of all time. And then we'll move on to the Sonny Jameses and the Diana Rosses and the Julie Andrews. And there's a lot of Christmas records I'm way into. So
okay,
even the Belle and Sebastian has a Christmas record, and I'm way into it. It's kind of one of those things that everybody does, and they're either take themselves too seriously and make just this really serious Christmas record, or they don't take themselves seriously enough and just kind of do it because everybody else does it. But literally everyone has a Christmas record.
Yeah. I've got a Christmas record.
Like, watch out, because one of these days, we're going to get a Rob Zombie Christmas record. It's going to happen. Watch. I'm saying it right now. This is my Criswell predicts. Sometime in the near future, we will have a Rob Zombie Christmas record.
Slam in the back of my Santa sleigh.
I don't know about that, but yeah, dude. Oh boy, it sure does suck that Monsters movie did not go well for anybody, because
I
that's
mean,
gonna suck for Rob Zombie, because like he was probably really excited about that.
we can probably cover it on this podcast if you wanna do that.
Look, I don't. I don't know, man, because I don't always like Rob Zombie movies, but I always like the spirit, like the gung ho spirit he puts into it. Like, it really puts a lot into his movies, whether you like him or you don't. Like, the man really puts it all out there. He really gives a big fat fucking effort every time,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows, for good or for ill. It fucking shows.
Yeah,
And
I've
so
only
I
seen
just
2 Rob Zombie movies up to this point, so
he's not for everyone. Like Pete Holmes, he's not for everybody.
yeah, he's I don't think he's for me
He's
personally.
certainly
Yeah.
not. No. And like I say, like I get why people don't like him, and I'm about 50-50. I like about half of his movies. But I always
Fair enough.
appreciate the effort and the love he puts into everyone. Like, he's a passionate filmmaker. He's a passionate artist, like, all around.
Mm-hmm.
And so to hear that he's done something like The Munsters, especially when that's something that he's way into and has been probably since as long as he can remember.
Yeah,
That
as
just
far back as he can
makes me
remember.
sad. Kind of makes me sad. Plus, I also love the Munsters. Fucking Fred Gwynn like a motherfucker, dude.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem is Fred Gwynn's so good. Like who can compete with Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis, like, and
Well,
Yvonne DiCarlo, like, really?
I don't know, Steven. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes, like some other shows and franchises and stuff, sometimes you just gotta let it die. Like Fred Gwynn himself said famously, "Sometimes Dad's better." Yup.
Sometimes that is better. We don't
Yup.
want to go down that road.
Oh, he's perfect Maine too, because like your Maine New
Mm-hmm.
England accent is not the same as your cousin from Boston. It's not
Right.
the same. It's not the
No,
same.
not
In
at
Maine,
all.
they don't take out their garbage. They don't do that. That's not how
Mm-mm.
it goes.
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
Nope. Not even a little
No.
bit. Where else can we find you on social media, Tucker?
Oh,
YouTube and where
I
else?
didn't say what my handle was. I'm on the YouTubes and I'm on the Instagrams, and in both of those places you can find me at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. There's also my famous, world famous Instagram page, Tuck Mugs. Um, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. We're really getting the numbers. It has been a while since we posted, but I gotta tell you, man, I want some guest mugs, dude. I want some guest mugs.
Get those guest mugs in, people.
You got to give them to me, because even though it's getting colder, I haven't been drinking a whole lot of coffee. So the next mug that you see may be like a super big size mug where I'm having some soup in it or something.
There you go.
There's your boy like having soup out of mug.
We had a whole conversation about that with our waitress at the
Yeah,
Lincoln Park or
dude.
the Lincoln Square Pancake House.
We sure did. Soup from a mug. Yeah. Ow. But yeah,
And
Tuck
that is,
underscore mugs.
yes.
Go there and follow and comment and like all of the posts. And if you're feeling a little bit frisky, if you're trying to get cheeky with your boy, send me a guest post, dude. Like, all you gotta do is check out the Instagram page. The format's very easy. You look at like 2 or 3 posts, you'll be like, okay, I get this, and just send me one, and we'll throw it right up there. We'll give you credit. We'll tag you in it. Like, it's gonna be rad. You want to
Yeah,
do it. I know you want to.
absolutely.
Like, you want to. Steven wants to. Like, hey, Steven, if you got another one, holler at your boy. I'm just
I've
saying.
got so many mugs, dude. Like, you have no idea.
I believe you. Totally believe you, dude. Yeah, but that's me on the
But
socials.
right on.
Oh,
So,
I posted my first reel the other day on Instagram. I'd never done that before, but there was a particularly funny section in Alan Wake 2 that I had to share with the world. There's a lot of other media in Alan Wake 2, like radio programs you can listen to, TV shows you can watch, like commercials on TV. And in Alan Wake 2, there are some brothers who own a business, and they have a lot of commercials. Like every other time you pass by a TV, one of their commercials is on. And in the commercial, the guy says, "Hey, do you want to come drink some beers, hang out with some cool guys and drink some beers?" And the guy says, "No, I'm gonna wear a turtleneck and drink wine like an asshole." And it was just really funny to me, so I had to post that, and it's really great. And either that didn't strike a chord. Oh, nope, he is not frozen. There we go. Yeah, that's just general humor, Steven. That's not video game related at all. That's just humor. Like, you've heard of that, right? You heard about this? You seen this? You heard of this?
No, I no, it's a foreign concept to
this?
me. Just like your human emotions. I have no context.
Bleep bloop, what are emotions? What is fun?
Why is that human leaking? Yeah, no, I don't know. Vote Stephen Foxworthy for human president. I don't know.
Hey, I will.
Hey, that is our episode on 1968's Barbarella. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy. For my absent co-host, Brett Wright, and my present co-host, Tucker, until next time, we didn't really talk about it, but the main villain of this movie is called Duran Duran, and that really got me thinking that she's Barbarella, and she dances out in space.